Roundtable. Appreciate everyone joining tonight. So we'll start out with, as we normally do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please join me. Can everyone nod? You can see my screen. I'm sharing. Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay, great. All right. In that case, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll be doing it from a seated position, so you don't have to start my midsection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two. Okay, well, good evening. Let's see. So things we've got planned for tonight. I got some general announcements. We do have some adult awards if the appropriate people are here, since I didn't tell them to come, so they might not have known to come. Oh, Sean's here. That's good. Okay, Sean's Christian, so that's good. And we have two great sessions that have actually two topics going on in each. Cub Scout session that Kat and Wendy will be leading, district resources for your pack and families, and virtual and socially distanced games. At the Scouts BSA and Venturing session, Gary Rudolph and I will be leading a presentation discussion on youth leadership training opportunities, and Erica Granning and Michael Kapelik I'll be leading a discussion and some presentation material on communication channels for the district. All right, let's get through it. Okay, I do update this each month. It looks like it's the same slide, but it keeps getting updated depending on exactly what the council had to say. So council office is still closed. They do have staff there on site from Tuesday through Friday. Scout shop is closed, but so its recommendation is to purchase things at the Tacoma Scout shop either in person or over the phone. They are now honoring our Friends of Scouting benefits. So if your pack, troop, or other unit has completed their goal for the year for Friends of Scouting, you get free Pinewood Derby cars or advancement patches for Scouts Troop BSA. All right. I think I've seen this one again, but just if you haven't been to one of my meetings recently, just a reminder, we have a new Scout executive. It's Manny Ramos. If you haven't seen this, I put the photo on there. So if you happen to run into him on the street or at a Scouting event, that's what he looks like. And I see Todd Brown is out shoveling his snow already. He's got, I don't know if that's an active shot there, but
yeah, there you go.
Live view there. All right. I keep worrying about with Dave Bader, if he's done something wrong at home, he's sitting on a tent all night. I'm worried about that, but hey, it's all good. Okay, so hey, I do want to take just a moment to kind of let's just reflect a little bit here. I took Wood Badge at the fall of 2015 class, and at that time, there was I think about roughly one woman in each of the patrols, and I had there were discussions. Hey, would it be at someday would there be girls be able to join scouting activities? And where that was, I'd hoped perhaps sometime in my lifetime that might happen. Obviously, things have happened much more quickly than that. And 2 years ago, we invited girls of Scouts BSA age to join. And now 2 years later, we have our inaugural class of female Eagle Scouts. This is a historic event. We should kind of stop and just consider that. So it's important. I'm excited about it. To my knowledge, there are 6 from the Chief Seattle Council that are in this inaugural class, and they are holding an event on Facebook Sunday, a week and a half from now, the 21st. It's at the local time. It's 5 to 6 p.m. Might be fun to watch and dial into, especially if you're involved in a girls troop or perhaps a Cub Scout pack that has girls in it. Great opportunity to kind of show might be a little bit of inspiration for them. So I encourage folks to think about that. I'm going to try out some of the material that BSA National has been posting on their Roundtable page to see if they can present this. So let me just try this out here. And Eric, you need to help me if I need to do anything to check and play can you see this video and can you hear it?
We can
We can
see it, but
see it, but not hear it. Yeah.
yeah.
You can see it, but can't hear it. Eric, is there anything I need to do to make it so that I can be heard?
When you
May be able to choose is there advanced sharing options when you click share?
yeah, there's a little checkbox that says share audio.
Okay, very good. All right, let me go do that down here. Here we go. Audio and
It's when you're sharing your screen, right before you share it, there's a little box that'll be up in the right-hand corner that says share audio.
I'm looking at the, all right, hang on a sec here. Stand by, that's my kids a couple years ago. Okay, so stop share. Okay, I'm gonna go share screen. Okay, and I've got a share sound, got it, okay. And we'll go to that one, share, and I'm gonna go to presentation here, back to that. All kinds of things to drive here tonight.
Hi, I hope you'll join us to celebrate the first class of female Eagle Scouts. Catch us live on Facebook and YouTube.
All right, cool. I couldn't resist a chance to share that. So that is a great thing. I encourage folks to dial in. Okay, so be the change. Okay, Friends of Scouting, we're in that season now. So I encourage you to support whatever units you're associated with. Chris McNeil will be wandering around visiting different units, mostly online, and giving presentations. If you can be there and have a few words that would help support that, that would be great. It's important every year, but probably more important than most years this year. So, Chris, do you have anything else you want to share about Friends of Scouting?
I am sharing right now. Second, went away.
Do you want the ball and share your screen?
There we are. No, in the chat, I'm just saying that is the link where you can find your unit's unique giving page. So all your units do have this. I've shared these with your Friends of Scouting coordinators, but if you don't have it, now you have it as well. So one of the new things we're doing this year is that we've created a unique page for individuals in your troop to be able to give to. And it is that way it's guaranteed any donations made on that page is going to be guaranteed to go to your unit. Last year we ran into a few snafus, difficulties of making sure all donations went to the correct units. So this is a great way to do that. Other than that, we're underway. I've given a half dozen presentations so far, visited a few of your units, and I look forward to seeing more and being able to raise some money for our camps and for our Scout Reach program.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. And as you can see there, the Tacoma Scout Shop, I mentioned that earlier, is now honoring the Friends of Scouting benefits. So they've got that arrangement that's set up between the Pacific Harbors Council and the Chief Seattle Council. So if your unit meets their goal, you'll either get free Pinewood Derby carts for the number of registered scouts in your pack, or for troops, your free rank advancement patches, merit patches, and award presentation cards. And if you do a lot of things in a year, that makes a difference in your budget. So great thing to do. We have some very cool patches this year for those. There's a set of 4 there, kind of vector looks. I think looks kind of cool. But depending on whether unit coordinator, one-time donor, or if you're a member of the Summit Circle or Summit Circle Belair members. The dollar values for some of those changed a little bit this year, but anyway, encourage folks to support that as every year. Okay, next up. So this one, hopefully you'll have seen this on the council email that came out in the last week or so, maybe even over the weekend. They're trying something new at Camp Piggott this year. So they'll have normal summer camp sessions for a certain number of weeks. And then towards the end of the summer, end of July, first week of August, they're going to offer something called Adventure Camp, which is a kind of a high adventure experience with a whole bunch of different activities based out of Camp Piggott. So there's some things like the Cope course, mountain biking that they offer there. But they're also going to go out and spend some time up in the mountains, maybe climbing, ascending mountains, going over to Wenatchee area to some whitewater rafting, natural rock climbing. I don't know if that's in Leavenworth or somewhere closer, but they're going to do some very cool things. There are other councils that have offered things, and there's something that I'm pretty excited to see here. If you have older scouts, age 15 and up, note that. So you can they can register individually, or if you have a small group that would like to register. I think they're only offering slots for 24 scouts for each session this year. But chance to do some very cool things, if they're not interested in doing sort of their normal scout summer camp experience. Great thing to do. There's an informational webinar being offered March 4th to learn more about it if you or maybe some scouts in your troop would be interested. So great experience. I'm glad to see that. So with that, we're going to move on to, let's see, do we have any other general announcements? And I have a couple of awards to hand out tonight or present tonight. Mr. Todd?
Yeah, I think maybe Mr. Watton has an announcement to make.
Who?
Rob.
Or
Hey,
Rob?
I've- I've crashed the party. Good evening.
We've gotten used to that, Rob.
Yeah, I know. That's the fun part that I get to play now. So it is a great honor this year of having 6 silver beavers from the council be selected. And I have to say that out of Alpine District, we have dozens of volunteers that are silver beaver worthy. So it's not an easy decision, but we have one outstanding volunteer I want to recognize tonight, and that's our very own Dr. Ken Fisher. So please join me in helping to recognize Ken's contributions to Alpine District, and he's made an incredible impact at the unit level as well as Roundtable, and we deeply appreciate it. So congratulations, Ken, well deserved.
Thanks, Rob. I am honored. Thank you very much, everybody, and all your
Very well
fun
deserved.
displays on your screen. So thank you. Means a lot to me. So, okay, well, very cool.
Hey,
And
Ken,
maybe-
I did
Yeah,
have
Rob. Hey, Todd.
one more quick general announcement. And that is just to make everybody aware, we are pushing out our spring training sessions. So the Baloo and IOLS was planned for April-May timeframe is going to be pushed out likely to the fall. The Wilderness First Aid course as well, which is planned for May, looks like that's going to be sliding out. We're looking at what's going on with, we're looking at our options for Camporee this spring. I don't think anyone's quite ready to give that up. There are some alternatives that we're looking at that could be a whole lot of fun. I think that Russell was going to come back to us after the chapter meeting and let us know what the OA is thinking from the support standpoint. So we'll be communicating that as soon as we get some more information.
Great. Thanks, Todd.
Yep.
Good stuff. Any other general announcements around the call tonight? All right. Great. I'm going to go move on. Do have a handful adult leader awards. There are 3 of these I'm going to present tonight. First one, and many of you may be familiar with it, but if you're not, it's good to be aware of them and see what the requirements are. So the Den Leader Training Award for any Cub Scout leader who's a Den Leader as serves for at least 1 year in that position, complete their basic training, go to generally the Powwow or University of Scouting means attend the program training conference in October for the Scouts, or it could be attending Wood Badge. And do 5 of the following. There's a long list today where they have a Den Leader, a Den Chief, you have a certain number of percentage of your Scouts that advance, just complete blue training, number of different things. So we actually have 3 leaders from PAC 425 this year that have earned this, which is great. So those are first, Sean Christensen, who I know is on the call here tonight. It looks like he's sitting in a car somewhere. Are you actually sitting in a car?
I confess I am sitting in a car. I've had to multitask this evening.
That's impressive. Well, thank you for joining us. That's very cool. Better that than in the dark in the woods somewhere or something. It's kind of
yeah, not well, that nope, no,
That's
this is
funny.
in the car. I'm not trying to do anything crazy.
That's cool. Anyway, Casey LaCroix, I hope I pronounced that right, who's Den Leader. LaCroix, thank you. Okay. And also Gavin Pendleton. So they all have earned this order. So they should be receiving those if they're not already in the mail. So it comes with a nice certificate like with that. And this blue and yellow knot goes just above their left pocket on their uniform. Okay, next up. We have, oops, I steal the thunder there. Next one is the Scouters Training Award. Similar, this one requires complete 2 years of tenure as a registered adult leader in Cub Scout PAC. It's equally valuable for any other scout unit. It could be for a troop, a venturing crew, a ship crew, again, the basic training for the position, attends PTC, annual planning meeting. Somewhere a unit serves at least, achieves at least the bronze level at Journey of Excellence, and give primary leadership to meeting at least one JTE objective. Okay, and participate in at least one additional supplemental or advanced training event. Frequently, that means someone that's going to attend Wood Badge or another significant event like that. 2 folks that I've already mentioned here, Sean and also Gavin, have both completed this. So it's a not for each of them. It's a great one. This is a great one that a lot of people that are on this call, if you have not, I encourage you to look at that and say, hey, I could probably do that. Or maybe it gives you that little nudge to do a couple extra things to get there.
And this was, and it's interesting you mentioned that because for some of these, this is exactly for Gavin and I especially. I mean, both of us have been Den leaders for 5 years. Don't make me count. And we both have completed Wood Badge. We've completed our tickets. Casey LaCroix, who earned his knot, is Den leader and now has become the new incoming Cub Master for PAC 425, as I will cross over at the end of this month. And he will be attending Wood Badge in the near future as well. So, and 425, not to toot our horn, we've done gold level Journey to Excellence for the past 4 years.
Excellent. Love to hear that. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for all your service. It's a great unit. Okay, lastly, and these get a little bit harder as you come along. And this one, the key awards, whether it's Cub Master, Scout Master, or advisor for a crew, the key awards are yet a bit harder. The ones with that one little white bit of knot there. Within a 5-year period, you have to be at least 3 years, either as a Cub Master for 3 years, or 2 years as a Cub Master and 1 year as a Assistant Cub Master. Basic training for that, for unit program training conference, at least the silver level. You have to earn the National Summertime PAC Award at least once. So you have to do something every month in the year, at least June, July, and August. You have to conduct the annual PAC planning session and at least one supplemental training event. So a lot of it is just doing your job as a unit leader and do it for a while to do that. So again, Sean, great work, and congratulations to you. Your uniform's going to look a little bling on it there, so that's
A
great.
little more bling on the uniform going forward.
Indeed. Congrats.
Thank you very much.
Yep. All right. So next roundtable meeting, 4 weeks from tonight, March 11th. It'll be like this meeting will be virtual. So look forward to seeing everyone then. With that, I'm going to have Eric go and break us off into separate groups, and then I will share my presentation. So we'll start on the Scouts BSA session with the youth leadership part, and I'll let Kat and Wendy start their session once folks have moved there. So Eric, you want to go ahead and let people go ahead and pick where they want to go? Quorum here, so let's get started. I know Gary Rudolph, folks probably know him, but he's our training chair for the Alpine district and has been doing a lot of training, particularly on wilderness first aid and IOLS for a number of years, and has been more involved with Troop 676 for a number of years as well. So I'm going to let him kick things off tonight. I want to talk about what are your opportunities for having your youth and your troops trained. So Gary, take it.
Thank you, Ken. Yeah, you said I've been doing a lot of training lately. I haven't done any training for a long time. It's really sad. I'm anxious to do more. But trying to.
You put a lot of things on the calendar that somehow didn't quite happen, but that's not of your own doing. Yeah.
So thanks, Todd, for bringing that up in the general session, that we did have to move out our adult sessions to the fall.
Yep, you bet.
Those of you that may be concerned about not having IOLS for position training for Scoutmaster and Assistant Scoutmaster, there's no issue with registering those positions, even though the training isn't complete. Wilderness first aid, that's maybe a different story depending on where you're going. Some high adventure places may waive the requirement for that. Others may be sticklers. I know Ken is an example with Sea Base where they're forcing that as a requirement. So your mileage may vary there. But tonight we want to talk not about adult leadership training, but youth leadership training options. And as you see on this slide, there's a big range of training growing from the center circle out from the unit, where there's a lot of individual training that happens, to training that's provided by district and council, and then on to national trainings. Certainly it's a big part of the vision and the methods of scouting to provide leadership training to them. And looking at the members that are here, a lot of us have probably done this already. Maybe some of us have been Scoutmasters. I don't know some of the new people, but hopefully this will be some information that might be reviewed to you, but also some new opportunities given the challenges we're presented right now with the virtual environment. So let's talk about the first opportunity, which is unit level training. Go to the next slide. So there's something that used to be called troop leadership training years ago when I was a Scoutmaster and taught this course, but it essentially is the same syllabus as before, and it's the introduction to leadership skills training. And there are different modules for crews and ships, but I believe they're quite similar. And the intent of this is for youth to deliver training to new youth. So the more experienced youth can be very instrumental in providing the training to the new and incoming youth. I'd also want to impress that it's very important for the adult leadership to be very heavily involved in this training too, particularly if you don't have an older troop or an experienced troop that's taught this a lot. This is a great way for the Scoutmaster and the senior leadership, youth senior leadership of the troop to come together and really understand what their roles are. It's a great way to interact with the senior patrol leader and the patrol leader council. So this is type of training that's supposed to be delivered anytime you have new youth coming into new positions. So some troops might elect once a year or once every 6 months. But when that happens, anytime you have new leaders that haven't been trained, the idea is to provide this leadership skills training as quickly as possible. And there's nothing worse than assigning a whole bunch of young scouts to positions in the troop and then not telling them what their roles really are. They're bound to not be as successful in a role if they don't really know what their role is and learn some leadership skills on how to present that to. So how do we do that in COVID time? I had the troop that I normally work with, Troop 676. They're struggling right now to to provide this training. We've done it many times in the past, but it's always been an interactive session, and we're trying to find a way to do it in a virtual way. So I did some fishing and found that there is some materials provided for virtual Introduction to Leadership Skills training. If you want to advance the next slide, Ken. So if you go to the link that's on the bottom there, it's the main training page from the national, and go to youth training, you'll find that there's now links for the ILST sessions for troops, crews, and ships to be done in a virtual manner. I was very surprised and pleased to see this. If you go to the next page, we'll give a little bit of detail on what that training consists of. So just like the normal syllabus for the ILST course, there's modules 1, 2, and 3. And module 3 is the interactive one. Module 2 are more classroom style, teaching how does a troop form and what do the positions mean, and talks about goal setting, stages of team development, etc. So what they've done is taken modules 1 and 2, which are more classroom based, and turned into a virtual training environment. So if you go to the Bsa Learning Center by logging on to spy.scouting.org, you can click through the training and find where you can get this ILST training. And then what you'd have to do is have each member that would be normally joining, so all the new scouts that have a new position, would go on their own time and complete module 1 and module 2. And overall, that's viewing like 6 sets of videos and less than an hour's worth of time to do that. And I did, this is pretty new, I haven't had a chance to teach a class this way, or if somebody here has done this, please speak up. But I did go through and pretend I was a new student and click through at least some of the modules. And it's very much in the style of YPT training that we're all familiar with. So you have a narrator that teaches, talks over some slides, there's some videos, interactive, and there's some click here to answer some questions before you move on to the next slide to kind of show that you've seen the knowledge. Not perfect. I did get to a point where he wanted me to slide things that I couldn't even read the print because it was too small on my screen to know what to slide, so I had to guess. But it's definitely a step in the right direction. So once module 1 and 2 were completed, then there's an opportunity for module 3, which is the interactive discussion. And on the web page, you can request a set of tools, which would be a PowerPoint script, and then there's a PDF file that's kind of a behind the scenes script for leaders to use for the presentation that kind of walks you through how you would bring your scouts together in a virtual manner and still do some of the important things like opening games and do all these things virtually, and still let the scouts learn these skills and develop some feedback to show that they've done the training. If you go to the next page, I think it talks about the module 3. So this would be this is just the header page. And then Ken put a good note on here too. So this is a good training to be used now in the virtual manner. Once the pandemic allows us to meet in a non-virtual manner, that you'd like us to all get back together face to face and do the regular syllabus. I did add one more slide here afterwards. Regardless of whether you're doing the virtual session or you're doing the regular session, there's a great reference tool that's provided on the same page, and it's the position description cards. Hopefully your troops have been using these. If you haven't, please do so. So when you hand somebody a patch, you better at least hand them a position card too that shows this is the position that you got elected to, and on the front it says what your expected position description are, and there's one for everything in the troop, bugler and historian, etc. And on the back, and something you do during the interactive session as a group, decide what do we want to accomplish now that we're all trained and we have some goals for our troop? What does that success look like? And then individually, what do I need to do to be successful in my position? So I think it's a really powerful tool for the young new scout in a position to have that bit of something to hold that says, this is why I'm doing this and what I can do to be successful. I think that was all on ILST, if I'm not mistaken, Ken. Was that the last slide?
Yeah, it's the last slide on that.
Yeah.
I really like those cards as well. I always went to FedEx office and printed them on a sort of card stock, so it's a little bit heavier, so you can print them. Looks more like a business card size thing, and hand it to the scouts, and they can sort of think about that, and then they consider it. So I find that kind of useful thing for them. So
You can get them from the Scout store, or now you can download them and print them as well. So.
Yep.
So any feedback or questions on ILST? I'm curious if anybody, any Scout troop has actually used this virtual session. I'd love to hear feedback on it before we continue recommending it to other troops.
I can commit that I will be going through it. I just haven't gotten to it yet, Gary. I did have one question about the position cards, because when we've used them live and in person, it's easy to pass them around. What do you think about, while we're still doing this more or less virtually, would you recommend kind of emailing the PDF around in advance so that they have an opportunity to kind of read through it at the same time that they're working through that hour's worth of training videos? Or is this something that you would distribute kind of during module 3 when you're talking through things interactively? Do you have any thoughts?
I would probably have to be during module 3, and I'd bring it up right away, and so that everybody had a chance and they could share what they each wrote for theirs. Module 1 and 2, they're probably going to be doing individually, but at module 3, you're all get together and be the time to write these out.
Great, thank you. Well, it's going to switch over. There's a handful of other opportunities depending on different roles, but I think the ILST, at the unit level, I would say is the most important of those, and try to do that with each new group of youth leaders, whether that's once a year or twice a year, depending on how often your units switches youth positions and roles. It's a good activity to go through. I will say for my own unit, I would say in the last year and a half, we've only done it once. We did it once in August this last summer, and that with the original program we had not included this new piece that Gary just described, and that worked okay. I was glad we did it. Better that than not doing it. But obviously it would have been better, in person. So I'm curious to try out that new module. So let's talk about a few other things. For if you have den chiefs, encourage every troop to have, considering having den chiefs and sending off to some of your packs in the area and help that. Most cub masters and den leaders are thrilled to have an older scout join them and help out. But just sending them there without any training, you may end up getting with just another older scout to manage and take care of, as opposed to having someone that's trained. It can really help you. So it can be offered. There's a facilitator guide. It's on that same youth training website. You can teach it within your unit if you have enough den leaders. It's worth doing that and have either an older scout or adult training. We occasionally have offered it at the district level by a facilitator. It is offered annually at the program training conference. Like it's a 2-hour session. So there's a lot of activities, and there's several other classes they recommend you do with that. And it's now available as online training. So rather than waiting until late October, if you've got someone that's starting in that role now, I would recommend the online training option. Questions on Den Chief training? Nope. Okay, great. All right, so once you get past that level and you've got your more senior, your more experienced scouts, someone that's maybe going to be your next SPL, maybe it's your current SPL or
We lost your, there you go. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Did you catch anything? Do I have to start again?
You cut out for just about 10 seconds there.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right. So, so if you have, I'll rewind some number of seconds. So if you have scouts in your unit that are age at least 13 or older, recommend age rank of first class, not actually strictly required, but I encourage you send your unit to send at least 2 scouts to this on a given year. Working number that I've heard in some cases, if you take your number of scouts in your unit, say in the beginning of April, and say, well, take about 10% of that number. This might be a good number. You might want to send about that many or up to that many to an NYLT in a given year. Maybe it's not as many as that, but I mean, if we've had, you know, my troop has been between 80 and 90 and 100 scouts typically at that time of year, and so we've sent, you know, 6 or 7 people. We do help fund them a little bit. The course is, I want to say it's about $270, something like that, and it's and my troop will support that for $100 towards that cost. So anyway, I encourage troops to send that. It's a great experience. If a scout has the opportunity, is offered that to go back and actually help teach in reality, then you're going to really get a really good leader out of that experience. They currently have three sessions that scheduled this summer that kind of overlap each other, and the only rule requirement is that they be must age 13 at the start of the program, and it will be held at camp. All of the sessions will be at Camp Piggott this year. If you've been to Woodbadge, this is the youth comparable training for that. Okay. Any questions on NWLT? Okay, great. Next up, we'll just first aid. We know we talked about earlier for adults, but as Gary and Todd and others can probably attest, it's actually open to youth, anyone over age 14. So if you're going to Philmont, Northern Tier, doing a high adventure, you know, backpacking trip here in the Cascades with your own unit, the more people that you can have that are WFA warfare trained, the better. So obviously we're not able to do that at this very moment, at least scouting sessions, hopefully maybe in this fall. There are a lot of other areas around that do this as a sort of for-profit activity or other things. So normally the course that's taught through the district is, you know, $50 to $80 for the weekend for 2 long days of training. If you do it through one of the other organizations, it usually be anywhere between about $220 and $300 for that same training. But if you need to have the training, we've had to pay for that training for one of my leaders going to sea base with me. So, but anyway, for youth, there's someone that really likes going in the wilderness. That's good training. I'm open to take my own sons there next time it's offered here in the district. All right, Powderhorn, another cool program, and we do offer that here. They're offering a couple sessions this summer or late summer. It's going to be offered jointly between, I think, 3 councils, maybe 4. Anyway, it's the Pacific Cascade Pacific Council, Chief Seattle Council, Mount Baker, I think at least those councils, possibly Pacific Harbors. But they've put this together. There are 2 sessions. One is like a week long. The other one is 2 3-day weekends. The sessions. But if your group is looking to really juice up your program for some high adventure activities, this is an opportunity to go do it. When they offer it, it almost always fills up very quickly within a week. Do that. But like any adults and youth age 14 can do it. You're going to do a lot of different experiences, probably at multiple different locations. It's going to push you outside your comfort level a bit. But if you've got scouts they're adventurous and want to try some of those things in your own troop, this is a great opportunity to do that. So great course. One of the courses will be based, I think, part of the session at Camp Piggott, and others down towards the Portland area, either Camp Baldwin or somewhere down in the Portland area. Okay, any questions on Powderhorn? No. Okay, again, open for adults and youth over age 14. So you may think as an adult activity, but got some adventurous older scouts, they can come too, get in. Program and Training Conference. All right. So I think probably nearly everybody on the call here has attended this before, but they do offer an awful lot of courses. Mostly it's adults there, but there are a lot of courses offered for youth. I mentioned Den Chief earlier, but there's plenty of classes to fill out the day for a scout. and it's a great opportunity for them to go and learn a lot in the course of a day. So think about that when you're encouraging people to go to the PTC this fall. Carol, do you have any a little marketing bit on that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on the committee for PTC, so I get to help run the whole shebang. And in a couple of years, I'll be actually the one running the whole shebang. So which is kind of cool. In terms of what else you get to do there, it's networking. You get to meet, other scout masters, leaders, people from all over the district, all over the council, and sometimes all over the state and through multiple states. We've had, especially when we were virtual last year, we had people as far away as New York coming to visit. So it's a cool opportunity. It's a lot of fun. In past years in person, it's been at North Seattle College, which is kind of awesome. Last year it was virtual. This year, it depends. We're not quite sure yet. It either is going to be virtual or a hybrid, possibly. Well, it will be part virtual and part possibly at one of the scout camps. So we're still working on details, but I guarantee you're going to have a lot of fun. So come join.
Great. So again, great for get your adult training in. I have to do a lot of courses that are not offered online or at other times of the year. There's a lot of great opportunities for some of your older youth as well to participate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last one, and I actually have not spoken to anyone who actually have attended this, but beyond NYLT, there is something called the National Advanced Youth Leadership Experience, NAIL. It's offered only at Philmont and at the Summit, but it is that next experience beyond NYLT or staffing NYLT. So if you've got someone that's going to be a strong leader and is really excited about that, this might be a good opportunity for them. Okay. Lastly, Wood Badge, again, an adult course, but I can't miss the opportunity to mention it. Once they've turned 18, so if they're on a crew or a ship or even exploring post and looking for a leadership training experience, I think a lot of people on the call here have attended Wood Badge. It's a phenomenal program. So any of your youth that are, once they've turned 18, they could attend Wood Badge, and there's, they will get a lot out of it, as we do at any age. Obviously, the spring course was suspended. The fall course is currently scheduled for these dates. Depending on how things roll out with COVID, there's some discussion of even doing 2 Wood Badge courses sort of on top of each other in separate sessions. If there's that much demand, we'll have already missed 3 consecutive Wood Badge courses that we normally teach here in the council. So anyway, I think that was my last slide here. Yes, it is. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and stop talking and let Eric and Michael pick up the baton and talk about communications around the district.
Great.
Over to you.
Thank you. So the ask was basically that twofold. We were hoping to, one, kind of share a few of the areas the way we communicate out to the volunteers and parents, kind of share what the district is using it for at this time. And then Michael has also been very involved in the recent relaunch of the website. And I wanted to make sure I gave him ample time to kind of show the great work that him and the team there have put together, and kind of show off, the new Alpine page, because it's up and live and it looks amazing. And then close out this section also getting really feedback from you guys, because we definitely, in one of our last surveys to key 3 leaders, there was definitely areas we could improve, and communications can be one of those. But we always we can only make assumptions of what are those best communication methods, and we'd love to hear from you guys. Is email really the best thing? Do we need to be sending you text messages? I don't know. Like, I want to hear from you guys. So without further ado, I'm gonna just kind of quick screen share, make this interactive, and definitely love for any kind of questions you guys might have as we go through things too. So this is one of the things you guys have probably gotten these a number of times from us, from the district itself, is the actual email itself coming from the Alpine district. We use a system called MailChimp that the council provides, just because we have so many members within our district. And right now the goal's been communicate key dates, any kind of key training events. Right now, obviously there's been a lot of cancellations of things, so we've had a lot of cancellation notifications. But then we also have, this particular month did a call for volunteers to help support the advancement team, with Kirk leading that. So this is one of our resources we have available to us. I've been manning it in the last year plus here. Michael's going to be taking the reins of that going forward, but this is just one of our vehicles. And then another one we have that does have a pretty decent, it's 201 members, is our Facebook group. This was created a while back. I forget when we actually found. Let's see, I don't even know if there's a founding date of this page, but ultimately it's been more of the purpose was to have it be more communal. Anyone that is in this group can post whatever they want. There's admins watching things, so if there really was something inappropriate, it would get flagged and taken down, but we have not had that issue whatsoever. But yeah, it's a public group that you can join, and right now the main thing's been community posts, not so much distribution of our same information that's in the newsletter. And those have been the two big things we have at our disposal. The third one being, I think, just direct communication from the district key 3. I know Ken did another blast from his account to the district key 3, and I'm sure Chris has sent out stuff too, and Todd as well. So those are kind of the methods we have. And I'll pause there. Any kind of questions about what we've been using and how we've been using it?
Eric, I've got one. Thanks for sharing all this. I really glad to have our new Alpine District Facebook page. Would you encourage individual scouting units to post their things if they've got photos of activities they've done recently, just to share with the larger group?
Yeah, so it's a balance here, because sure. We do need to have youth protection in mind, sharing photos of our youth.
Right.
So I caution direct photos. There's definitely tasteful ways to show the youth doing an activity while they're maybe it's taking a picture from the backside of them looking on, or I think there's some general guidelines that Nationals has posted about just use of youth photography. And so I would definitely, we want to have that, especially end products. If there's great Pinewood Derby cars being made, definitely capture that. If there's, for Klondike, having the different sleds put together, all those kind of things can be great ways to articulate what we're doing. So yes, in general, yes, but we need to always have the youth protection filter in mind when we're posting content.
Yeah.
Is there a policy set or a list of rules on that I could get a hold of?
I can look on the national site. I've seen them once before. I think I had to just basically Google them, but it's like social media, tips and tricks for troops and packs.
Okay.
I think there's some more official guidelines, and then there's like a Brian on Scouting, even more detailed like examples and things like that that I've seen too. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if how curated it is. I would just say not having direct photos of youth is probably rule one.
Or at least they're identifiable, yeah.
Yeah, identifiable. Yeah.
So a bunch of
I would probably modify that just a little bit. I think I don't know, and I'm actually looking on that Brian at Scouting page right now. I don't know that Scouting doesn't want photos of youth out there. I think the primary thing is that the parents know that these photos are being published. Especially on like Facebook or a district site or council site, with parent permission to do that. I don't believe there's an issue with that. And usually there's a photo release policy or something like that you do. Like back in the day, we never really did that. But clearly, like putting photos out there of any of the scouts, we want to make sure that the parents know that's happening. But we've got literally, I probably got 300 photos from the last Scout Tree Drive because I asked for all the units to just go ahead and send me photos. So we've got a bunch of photos of scouts on there, for example. And I don't worry about that aspect of it because we were literally contributed those for the purpose of going on a website. And so I think if you've got a unit that's sending you a great, campsite photo or something like that, and they know it's being posted, I think we're pretty safe.
I think it's more just the candid, like you're out in the field, you're doing it from your phone, and you're not really explicitly making parents maybe aware. So that's where I would say use good discretion, but absolutely, Michael, I think as long as parents have made themselves aware of that, then yeah, it's definitely safe.
Just to echo Michael, when kids fill out their registration form every year, or when they initially fill it out, there is that disclosure on there. But I think the one thing to emphasize is that troops and units need to make sure that those kids that are participating have registered themselves because otherwise we're not capturing that. And secondly, just like Michael says, the parents need to know, and you need to know who the kids are, because there are certain situations where we just don't want to put ourselves into. So
there's also a release statement on the BSA medical forms. You may have glossed over it, but there is a statement in there that basically allows BSA to retain and display those photographs or even videos on its websites. So.
So just
make sure you know who opted out of that.
Yeah.
All
you're supposed to have
things...
you should have the medical forms for all of our outdoor events, right? So
what I'm talking about is on that form, you can opt out of giving permission to have your photos released.
Yes.
So by default, most people will allow it, but if you have any exceptions, then keep an eye out for those specific scouts.
Yeah.
Wow, so, I'm looking at that form right now, and as being my former our troop photographer, I never knew about that. But there it is. I hereby assign and grant to the local council, Boy Scouts America, as well as their authorized representatives, the right and permission to use and publish photographs, films, videotapes, and electronic representations, as well as sound recordings of me and my child at all scouting activities. And I hereby release the Boy Scouts of America, local councils, and activity coordinators, all employees, volunteers, blah, blah, blah. You get it. There's actually a long paragraph on this, which is kind of interesting that's buried in, Part A, informed consent, release agreement, and authorization. So it looks like interesting. I never knew that kind of BSA had a blanket thing as part of this particular form.
Yeah. So
the medical form?
Yeah. It's on the release side of it, the release component of the medical form.
Okay.
Yeah, this is part A, informed consent.
Yeah. it's more than just a medical form. It's informed consent and medical. So, but yeah, so those are, just great question. And I think there's good food for thought and things to keep in mind. So yeah, those are the kind of two channels we have as an outbound that, are one's communal, one's very static and just, distribution. And then Michael, do you want to screen share, or would you like me to pull up the page and you can?
No, I can screen share if you want.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a quick question before we jump into anything, since we have Ken on here.
Yeah.
Is that oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of the event. We have a March event for hold on, let me go back to this.
Scouting for food?
No. It's I'm sorry, the orienteering event. How
Oh
am I
yeah, the
blanking on that?
20th of March, right, yeah.
Yeah.
at,
District
Beaver
Orienteering
Lake.
Day, March 20th.
Right.
So is that still on?
We're
talking about communication.
We'll need to confirm that with the OA after.
Yeah,
today.
they're meeting that on that topic and others tonight. So yeah, they've set it up. Although it's already been moved once. So they're
they visited my troop on Tuesday, and they definitely were promoting it. So
okay, good.
As far as I know, it's still
a
on.
go is right now. Okay, great.
Yep, and it was encouraged to be socially distant, so we're good.
Yeah, maybe it was spread out in time too. I mean, it's you don't need you've got a whole day, and people show up at different times a day.
Yep.
And there you go. Yeah, I wonder if that's new, because they changed this form 2-3 years ago. The health medical forms were revised, had a new look to it.
I'm pretty sure that the photo release checkbox has been a signature. I'm pretty sure that's been part of it for more than a decade.
A while,
yeah,
okay.
It has,
Gotcha.
correct. Yep.
The only checkbox there is for BB guns, not for photos.
Yeah.
This box allows you a BB gun. Interesting.
Anyway, good stuff. Yeah, that was just the all scouting events one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we need a long thing on the website, but just to tell you a little bit about motivation. I was approached, this was back in, I think, October, by Bill and Chris and Patrick. Am I sharing my video? I don't know. Hold on. I can't even see. I was approached and they were like, hey, National actually has a website like theme for WordPress, and they were interested in using something like that and refreshing our site. And I think secondarily, there was possibly founded or unfounded dislike for our platform called Joomla in the past. And so they just wanted to move to WordPress and refresh the site. And so that was began as the odyssey of going through this. And as we went through the process, one thing I wanted council to make sure they understood was that, we can put a new theme, we can put a pretty face on it, but if the content is terrible, if the content is out of date and hasn't been touched for 10 or 15 years, 15 is probably an exaggeration, but some of the content on the site hasn't been touched in 5 or 7 years. It just hasn't been touched. I said you need to look at our content and our presentation and think about how that is, and that's where we landed on the site. So this is our old site. Actually, some of the stuff is broken right now because it's been moved around, but we had approximately 80 menus up here diving into things on the site, and this is just the top level menu, and then on all of the different pages, of course, we had all these fun sidebar menus. So if I drop into our old Alpine page, I've got a huge sidebar menu over here. So what, I got another 15 or 20 things, and this was pervasive around the whole site. We had probably 200, 300 menu items and sidebar menus. It's an older design. It's hard to find things. It makes you hunt through the menus. And if you notice, like things like, if I want to give to Chief Seattle Council, a lot of other councils will have a landing page for giving. We don't. We just give you a menu and you can hunt through the 8 or 9 different ways to give to Chief Seattle Council. we don't have a camping landing page. You can go here and hunt through all the different camping pages to find stuff that you want, but nothing to really consolidate this stuff. You know, and programs, again, same thing. You're hunting through a bunch of menus. A lot of these things pointed to really old and stale content. The Sea Scouts, you know, I'll call out the Sea Scouts page. I've learned most of this information is now changed or different or updated. So just a lot of neglect on the site. So what we wanted to do was solve some of that problem with having landing pages for topics, get rid of all of these menus and replace them with something which is a lot more mobile friendly. And so that was the, you know, mobile and tablet friendly. So that's where we ended up with this. So the site that you're looking at now, this is our new site. Yeah, we still have the slider on the top. But if you notice, the top level menu is just 7 or 9 items now, and everything kind of drops you into a larger page. The home page, for example, you know, and we use this is a format from National. Just brings you out you know, if you're on a tablet, you can just tap on the photos. That'll bring you into every one of these sections. And so we have landing pages for joining, donating, camping. And we don't need to like browse the entire site, but just to call up a couple of them. We took a lot of the really old information that was on our joining page and just kind of broke that out into, and most of these actually link out to National. But for example, donate, we now have a donate landing page that, you know, support scouting. Here's all the different ways you can do it. You know, easy to kind of click through, and you don't have to hunt through pages, or at least, you know, you can see, you know, on one landing page the way to do that. My favorite page here for landing was the camping page. Bill Beaumont designed this. It's got a countdown for when camp starts. We've got some elements on here that we took from some different councils. This is from the Denver Council, but we have our own photographs on all these now. But you can, you know, you want to say, I've got a scout age 5 to 10. What are my options for camping? And you know, Bill's got a page now that describes all the different options for camping for that particular age group. You know, and then similarly down here, he's got all the camps broken out: Edwards, Parsons, Piggott, Shepherd, registration links, and then each of these, you know, each of these has their own page here on the site. Information about how to register for camp. So it's kind of the notion that we're making it, there's still a lot of information here. There's still a bit of clicking around, but I think we've made it a little bit easier to at least find the things that are here. We've cleaned out a lot of cruft on the site. And then last but not least, of course, all the district pages. Every one of the districts now kind of follows the similar pattern. And so what we have for Alpine, and honestly, like the presentation is different, but the kind of information that we have on here has been pretty much the same. You know, we start out by having all the different events that are upcoming. Now we have individual posts for those. We've got a fancy join scouting here, the roundtable picture, all the recap stuff. Someone was asking, you know, for, you know, how do you get the PowerPoints? I've got those already up there. Thank you for sending those in advance. And then all the different sections for all the pages that we have. So that's the short intro to the site. Hopefully the feedback will be good. Haven't got anything yet, but I think people just like a fresh look to the site. And I'm open for feedback as well.
It's mobile friendly too, correct? So it's going to be a little more responsive, designed for mobile.
Well, the old site was responsive.
Okay.
I think the mobile friendly comes in when, you know, I could take this site and just squeeze this down, and obviously, like, it did the right thing. But you know, the hamburger menu, they got one for council there. But for example, if I wanted to get to the Alpine, all those other menus, I got to scroll all the way to the bottom of this, and here's all those other menus at the bottom. It's just not super friendly from that standpoint. But if I'm on a tablet and I'm looking at this, and let's squeeze this down to like a tablet size, you know, everything still looks fairly smooth. And, you know, again, you can tap any of these buttons here. There's something larger than just a menu link in order to dive into it a little bit. So, but yeah,
I really
this
like
has kept me.
the new look. I'd say you guys put a lot of effort into it. It has a nice, crisp.
Yeah, it
look
looks
in it.
fantastic. Great job on this.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, the one thing I was looking for last night as I was putting together the training was actually NYLT. So I went to the council training page. I think it's under resources, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. So Chris
And it may just
Taylor
be that
is
it's not. Maybe the information's not known. But
literally
there.
Chris Taylor is working on this day by day.
Okay.
We switched the site over knowing that there's some sections that are just not done. It was just
There right. There was just there was a
so,
just in Latin or something, just of material. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I
yeah,
just
no,
saw
no, she's working on it. And we've got some actually over the last couple of days, like the powder horn information is out here now. But as you can tell, like the images aren't quite sized right. There's nothing's aligned up here and on all that. So we've got a little bit of work to do
just
to clean
getting
that up.
those probably little polished things. But yeah, no, it's great.
Joe is as you know, doing training for council, and she's been working with Chris, and they've been working together on kind of figuring out what can stay on the old site and doesn't need to come over here anymore, and what's new. But yeah, it's coming. This is new.
Yeah, so the honor. Yeah. So I was actually I've told other folks I'm taking a couple crews to Seabase in early April, and so I was on their website today, and they switched over to a WordPress type format that has the same kind of look and feel to what you have here, and that's just been in the last week or two.
There's a lot of councils that did adopt it. We did a little hunting around, but we actually took a look at a lot of other councils. Yeah, they actually have they're using this template. They're using a different menu, but if you notice, this is the look.
Got
right?
those kind of visual tiles.
Yeah, that card.
Like
that card look and all
right.
that. So yeah.
Yeah.
We did spend a little bit of time looking at other council sites to get some inspiration. That's where the camping page came from. It's if you look at Denver Council's camping page, it's very similar to ours.
Right.
Or I should say, ours is very similar to
theirs
because we just shamelessly stole it.
Yes.
But
all good. That's good.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
That's
anything you want to see on here, let me know. This was a bit of effort in January, but I'm taking a break now.
Yeah, as you should.
And but it's
yeah, and there is impending. Kirk has provided a bunch of content. I gotta review a lot of it, and we're gonna under the advancements page. The goal is to also have a breakout page for more specifically for Life to Eagle and all that content, because it's dense on its own and probably deserves a call out. And we have a great recording of the session that Kirk did of the Trail to Eagle recently for more COVID related things with Q&A. So we'll hopefully be able to get all that on there once I get a chance to look over everything. I know Kirk's waiting on me on that one.
Great. Good stuff.
Yeah. So with the last little bit here, I know I won't keep you guys much longer. Is there any feedback you guys have as, unit leaders, general volunteers of the district that, you'd like to see different ways for us to communicate as a district to you? Have you heard anything from parents? We're open to hear these things right now.
I guess I would say now I understand what I've been seeing and didn't know why things were different. So that's good. Glad to have a kind of a tour of everything. But I did like seeing what ends up getting sent out as the newsletter, like what's going on. And as long as that's up to date, that's super helpful.
Okay. Good.
What
about the shooting? Is that going to happen? And when would they know? And when would the registration kick off for that?
Oh, the I don't know if that's been postponed or not. I guess we need to probably check and see if that's going to be a council event, though, I believe. So
I just got an email last night from the shooting sports committee
okay,
with opportunities to get trained if like for adults who want to be trained as NRA instructors in the various options. So
yeah, I
if
have
you want,
heard
I can forward
was,
that to you or anybody who wants to do that.
Yeah, the shooting sports committee is probably the best way to find out if there's still going to be shooting sports events going on. I know there was some discussion of the last I had heard, this was like 3 months ago, that they were looking for certified adults to be the coordinating things because they are short on resources for that.
They have equipment to loan out a multi-gun airsoft package that troops can do if they have a location to do it. And it takes 3 trained adults to do the training. And if somebody, I don't know if I was gonna shop this around my troop. I don't know if there's gonna be the interest, but at a district level, we probably have enough. And if some people wanted to get together with me on that, I'd be happy to see if there was an interest.
Well, Troop 676 has some interest in participating.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be a big thing. If we just have enough people for the minimum, even it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing, just to get back to the original topic, because I wanted to throw this in there, of things that could help, I think, my troop a little more, is I took notes on these different options and I'm going to try to get them out to my parents, but I would really like to have all the parents plugged in as much as I am on the newsletter and the website information and stuff. So I don't know if you have a way to just look at all the emails of all the parents in my troop and start sending them the newsletter, or if there's some approach, some process I can do to get them all, make sure they're all subscribed.
Yeah, so we have every single parent and volunteer get added. I don't know what the cycle is when it's refreshed, but the entire roster of Chief Seattle Council gets added to MailChimp into the various council or districts. And then, we have, they have the choice to opt out. And once they've opted out, it will not send it to them again unless they opt back in.
Cool.
So
yeah, and to clarify and just clarify that was because we generally for the Alpine list specifically, like Eric's right, like the council is going to load that into. So for the council newsletter, you're gonna any council communications, you're going to get that. But we have a separate list that we maintain for Alpine, and that we wait until after recharter every year. And in fact, we're almost at that time because Chris knows I always bug him for the recharter list, and he's always like, "Well, we got to wait till recharter is done." So probably sometime in March, I'm going to hit him up for a fresh list of every email address that made it through the last recharter. And then we load that into MailChimp. So it's whatever, it's 1,500, something like that, email addresses. So it'll get a refresh, but you can go onto the Alpine page and just sign up for the newsletter there. If anyone is not receiving it, you can just tell them to go to the Alpine page and sign up for the Alpine newsletter, because we have a link there. You can just enter your email and sign up.
Cool.
But yeah, I think, the other topic that, Eric has certainly discussed here was getting people to open it. Once you're on the list, are people physically opening that thing? And he's been sending out stats about that. And our open rate is just, is honestly is about the same as councils. Maybe we're a little bit better, but open rate is very low. So it's getting people to physically pay attention and read it. And
Michael, out of curiosity, can you give us a ballpark range of what the open rate is? Is it single digits? Is it medium?
Eric, I'll defer to Eric because he's the one who last sent that information around.
So our average open rate is 26%, and the peer average, they call it, is 28, and that I would assume is all the other group lists, including the councils as well. Like the last one we just sent was a 19% open rate. So it's and we always have a good amount of, we had unsubscribes, had 12 just this last email. We usually have somewhere between 5 and 20 unsubscribes. Some of these are, a lot of these were true, parents of youth this time. And so we know who they are, like if they unsubscribe, but we also don't want to go call them out because there's obviously reasons for their choice.
Out of curiosity, just on a data point there, do you know how many of those parent unsubscribes belong to currently registered youth versus youth that are aging out?
We have not done any kind of analysis thus far on
because obviously you're going to get some of those each time.
Yes,
too.
of course.
Yeah.
I know in my local church, we've had a lot of people just flat out move as well. Like there's been a lot of moves out of state.
Yeah, it's an important point because we add new, but we never empty the list. And then if you're on the list, you're on the list. And so, clearly with the changes around LDS, there was some drop, but it probably wasn't as much as, you might expect.
Just to shed light and back that on you as well, I've moved districts a number of times, and I am still on mail distribution lists for the Transatlantic Council, and it's been half a dozen years since I was part of that council. But you still like to stay plugged in. So just because somebody has moved physically doesn't necessarily mean that they're not interested in keeping up to date on what the council is doing. So I think it's appropriate to leave them in, is all I'm trying to reinforce.
Yeah. There's going to be different ways to look at all this. And I think at the end of the day, we're not going to abandon this as a communication channel by any means based on any of this data until it's like literally we get someone saying it's not working, period. But none of this is telling us that. They're still engaged individuals. But we want to know if there's any others. That's really is email still the primary? Should we be doing something with Twitter? Do we need to do more with Facebook? Like right now we have just the Facebook group. Do we need to actually have a Facebook page? Because there is a difference between the group and a page. All these things are ways we can distribute out things. But it also means that there's volunteer hours that have to go into it. So we have to consider all those things.
Yeah, I guess I'd go back to, I really go to the events page on the Alpine district. And I will look at the newsletter as well if it comes to my box, but it's usually the same as what's on the web page. So as long as I'm catching one of those, I'm covered.
Yep. Okay. Anything else? And don't feel like if you have an idea or you hear something from parents or volunteers, definitely shoot a note to the district key 3, and they'll distribute to the right people that are handling those things. As I said, I'm going to be moving off the email side of things. I'm sure I'll still be here to jump in if Michael ever needs a backup. But yeah, we just want to make sure we're setting ourselves up for this new virtual world so everyone has info. Cool. That's all I had. If anyone has anything else.
Yeah, if we're done with that topic, I have a question for the troops that are represented here. We're looking at, and if you wanted to share with us what your kind of reopening plan is, because it seems to kind of come down to, we don't slot into one category because we're doing all kinds of different things. And just wondering if anybody can reflect on how they're looking at their reopening.
I will offer, my boys are in Troop 571, and I'm also an ASM for the girls, Troop 5749. That's our sibling troop. I will say, this is actually a topic I was going to have as one of our main topics for the March roundtable, so I encourage everyone to attend for that very reason, because I think it's an important topic. I will say our troop has been somewhat averse to doing much of anything in person. We did participate in our tree pickup, Christmas tree pickup, first Saturday in January, but that was everybody just in their own family cars driving around. But it was good to see people and doing scout things. I've had a couple in-person Eagle Scout projects outdoors with small groups, kind of distributed spatially for that. I mentioned earlier I'll be taking 2 crews. I'll be 16 people total going to Sea Base in April, which is kind of a big leap. But that is the way, if you're being on a sailboat, once you get there and you're basically become your own sort of local family for a week or so. So we're putting a lot of effort trying to keep people to be safe and quarantine themselves to the extent they can for a couple weeks leading up to that. That's generally for a very specific event, you know, and we'll have everybody has a lot of COVID protocols, and when we're in public, and masking and a lot of hand washing and all the things we've been learning about for the last 11 months. We are intending to go to summer camp at Camp Easton in Idaho. They operated last summer, unlike the local camps here, because they have different kind of view on things. They had more of a kind of scouts in their own camps, and they would kind of bring the program to them as opposed to the entire camp commingled. They're looking to do something like that, or maybe a hybrid of that this summer. Our troop didn't go to summer camp last year at all, as many of you probably. I think Troop 425 sent like a few scouts. I know like one of the troops on Mercer Island sent a few scouts to Camp Easton last summer, so it'd have some experience that way. And I know our own council is trying to operate their camps this summer, and that may not look like, I'll say, a normal summer. So I would offer at least that's kind of our experience so far. I hope to come back and talk at our May roundtable about kind of my experience going to Sea Base and how that operationally, how that worked from a safety point of view. You know, our experience, what we learned there.
Carla, have you reviewed any of the more recent? There's been, as in like last week, updates to the reopening suggestions by nationals, like that.
Yep.
It's been widely distributed, so I didn't know if you had seen it.
Yes, we have been looking at everything that's out there and where everything's being pulled from to pull it together.
Okay.
So yes, we're trying to be as informed as possible on what we need to do, being careful, but then also not, you don't want to be so careful that you can't budge.
Right. Diminishing the program at the same time.
Right.
So my troop's been doing virtual meetings ever since COVID started. In terms of like reopening towards like actually physically getting together, our troop decided that we do one thing in person a month, just to sort of start getting towards it. So last month we did a rainy day hike, which turned out to be a partially sunny day, but whatever. And then the snowshoe, which turned out to be rainy. So was this month. In terms of,
sorry the sun ruined your rainy day hike.
I know. Our scouts loved it. So in terms of what else we're doing is we're also going to do summer camp. We're going to go to Parsons. Parsons has a lot of stuff out there on what they're going to do in terms of keeping them more again towards like sites, so bring the program to you type deal. So that's kind of cool. What else? We've been doing a lot of so part of the discussion we had at our last troop meeting was that we've got a lot of scouts that are starting to get towards Life and Eagle, and they need Knights Under Canvas for the Camping Merit Badge. Now, last summer, we did a virtual summer camp where the kids did virtual like classes in terms of merit badges. But during that entire virtual summer camp week, if they stayed in a tent in their backyard and attended our virtual campfire, we counted it as a troop event and they could count it as a night under canvas. Now, if they had, if something happened to their tent during the night and they ended up going back in the house, then that didn't count. But I know that there are a lot of scouts out there that are screaming for, we need nights under tents right now if we're going to, get our next merit badge, get our rank. So definitely plan some of those, like, even if you do like a virtual backyard event with your troop, put those in right now, because I guarantee you'll have some interest. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And quick, the new guidelines as far as, when you're doing the hiking, it seems that fits into the sports category. What kind of breakout are you doing with that? Is everybody just hiking together with their PPE or without PPE, or what? How are you doing that?
So we did like family units. So most of the scouts would bring like siblings or parents, and they kind of stuck together. We also had all of our scouts kind of sign like a little health form before the event. So just like if you go into like a doctor's office or something right now, they ask you, they take your temperature, they screen you for like, cough symptoms and all of that. So we had them more or less fill out the exact same form. And as long as they didn't check too many of those health boxes, then we allowed them to come. And we also designed our own troop face masks, which is really cool and a souvenir that they can keep for years later.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
How did you manufacture your troop face mask?
I can go ask my my committee who put that together for all the details, but I know it was through a site online that also does, I believe, like custom merit badges and stuff too, or custom little badges. So I can go find out all the details and I'll distribute that somehow.
Great.
I do know we also let the scouts design the face masks at a PLC like a couple of months ago. So
I reached out to the Issaquah School District, and they had facilities that could be used for sports, which was under the guidelines of being allowed. But I wasn't able to take it much farther. But there wasn't like, since scouts in the Issaquah School District are like in the one of the highest categorizations, they seemed like they had a pretty streamlined process to approve use of a facility. It would be interesting if a troop wanted to do a sport emphasis and then have a team that practiced that sport, they could possibly use some of the school facilities. Of course, middle of winter right now, but I just wanted to share that idea. And then another thing that summarized from our troop was at the 1B stage, I think the restriction was 2 households at one time outdoors. So we had split into small, like 2 family groups, and then they would do something over the weekend, like go on a hike following the governor's guidelines, and then share that back with the troop on the next virtual. So there's that was the best we could see to do something while complying with with the guidelines exactly. And there are there's at least one scout whose father is at extremely high risk, and he's not able to participate in any, even that would have been a little too much risk for him. So there's no pressure on those scouts to participate, but they still have the virtual. I don't know if that helps anybody, but that's all we've been able to figure out so far.
Right. We're all kind of in this together, trying to just swim our way through it.
Because I get confused because it shows on the outdoor thing about outdoor establishment with hiking like 200 people on the CDC.
When I see that, I think about the ski resort. It's like, that's an outdoor establishment that can hold
or
a
any
high
of
number of
the
people.
state parks where there's gated like entry and things like that. Anything national forest and stuff like that, it's pretty much free reign. So they're use your best judgment basically.
Yeah, because they say like 200. There's nothing about 2-family limit or anything.
There's just no way to police it when you're outdoors unless you have, a gated entry.
I didn't see anything on there about gated entry. It just said.
No, I'm
Mike,
saying in general they would have
in a large open space.
Yeah.
We went snow tubing a couple weeks back just with my family, and it was crazy how few, because they had to restrict the number of people who could do that activity. So it's very, very surreal.
Or how many people could go?
I think there were about 50 people in our session, and normally there's
50?
like 200 or 300,
wow.
going on those.
Well, yeah, 50 people would be 25% of 200. So.
Was it still phase 1 at that point?
I think so. Yeah, it was like tail end of December.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else? Thoughts?
Yeah, Carl, thanks for bringing that up. It's absolutely something we're all facing in order to have to figure our way through it, and hope we'll have at least some outdoor activities in coming months. That's one of, if not the reason, a lot of scouts join scouting, and so they want to go out and do stuff. So anything we can do to help scratch that itch, we should do everything we can. Yeah, great. Okay, anything else around the table tonight? Great discussion. Appreciate everyone's time on the presentations. That's good stuff, and look forward to seeing you guys next month on March 11th. So thank you so much. Thanks for joining, and have a good rest of your night.